Hello, it's Randy Duck and welcome back for another video. And today we've got 3 replays to show you in the Tier 9 Soviet tech tree tank destroyer, the Object 704. And the first replay we have to show you today is on Siegfried line, and we are platooned up with our friend Davfell here in his E75. There is 1 enemy light tank in the game and 1 enemy artillery, as well as it being Tier 10 matchmaking. But initially we're going to try and push to see if we can shoot any tanks which are light tank potentially spots in the sort of D23 area. As you can see, there's already 2 tanks which have pushed up quite aggressively to the bowl location, and I want to try and get in a position so maybe I can get some shots in, give that light tank some assistance, and ultimately to see if we can, try and win that side, so they don't leave that side uncontested so the enemy team can push down behind us. If you want to see the crew and equipment setup I'm running in the tank, you can see that at the bottom of the screen as we speak. And as you can see, I'm just waiting. Unfortunately, I can only shoot these tanks if they do poke high enough. You see, our light tank is playing quite aggressively. I'm hoping maybe they will poke and try and get a shot in. If they do, I can slap them there with my 750 Alpha boomstick on this gun. But I do need to be a little bit patient. And you do need to be quite patient when you are playing these types of TDs, because I do have fantastic concealment on the tank. I think I've got the concealment down to 233. As well as the armour, actually it can be okay. You can bounce shots in this tank. I wouldn't rely upon it, but you do have some armour. But mainly I want to try and rely on my concealment where possible. So unfortunately, it's been a bit of a slow start, right? Unfortunately, our light tank's now been destroyed, which is going to give this side, give the enemy team freedom on this side to push up. I opt to try and go for a shot on that enemy tank destroyer, and we do pick up at least our first shot of damage in the game. Unfortunately, though, we have now lost vision in the 1-2 line, and I'm thinking, no one's going to really be able to spot for us because our medium tanks, as you can see, are too far back on the sort of K2-3 area. So we're going to have to pull back, and there's quite a few tanks pushing down the sort of town area in a 9-0. So at this point I'm kind of thinking I might try and fall back to defend the tanks coming out of town, but then I've quickly seen that Leopard push forward, and he's behind a building, but he's actually getting shot, and you can see he's losing quite a lot of hit points here. So I am going to see if there's a way, if there's an opportunity for me to squeeze in a shot. I might just get the smallest of shots through that house, and we do manage to get a shot through the pillar box there, killing an enemy Leopard and picking up our first kill of the game and our second pen, putting us on to 1,400 damage. And our team is losing at the moment, by 2 tanks, and we are down on hit points. But there's a long way to go yet, and killing that Leopard obviously was quite nice, allowing our friendly team now to push up a little bit down the 1-2. But I'm pulling back because you see my platoon mate is in the town. I'm going to try and get to a position so I can try and cover him. Unfortunately, enemy artillery is immediately looking at my direction when I get detected there, so I'm trying to dodge the Fun Police shell. But thankfully, he doesn't fire and we don't lose any hit points to that. And now we are starting, like I say, we're starting to lose tanks, but we are in a position where we can potentially pick up damage and shots on these tanks which are pushed out of the town, as you can see. Pick up our first shot of the damage of the game, and then we pull back in this position where we can basically say hold down, lose our spot, so we're able to basically fire undetected, which is the big thing, and then we can pull back if we do get detected, because we need to try and get as many shots into these tanks as possible. We should have an opportunity to shoot this enemy heavy tank here. We do, picking up our 4th pen of the game, starting to get a little bit more involved now, although we are still, we're still pretty close game, 9 versus 10 at this point. Picked up a tiny bit of track assistance there, only 92. Tried to chance that shot into the 1-shot heavy tank, wasn't able to connect. But it's kind of a situation where I need to be patient now. I'm not going to push into the town. I'm going to wait for them to come to me, because if I push in the town, I'm turretless tank destroyer, and I'm going to be outgunned in there, and I just don't think it's going to go well. I think patience is going to be the real key, because it kind of looks like our medium and tank destroyer might kill the enemy artillery there, which will be handy for us. Then we won't have to worry about getting shot from the sky. It will make our life a little bit easier. Might have a potential shot here on this enemy TD. We squeeze that one in, picking up our 2nd kill of the game. We do get detected for it, or our 6th sense goes off, but we're not getting targeted at the moment. And we're up to about 3,400 damage. And this game it's now been brought back to a more level playing field. We've actually got the advantage, and we have the advantage on the hit points here. And we're just going to see if we can get some more shots when these tanks are poking, because shots are coming available to us. Unfortunately, we missed that shot on the Waffle E100. Could potentially swap to my HE for the Waffle, but I don't know. I might have other targets to shoot, so I choose not to do that. And we might have a finishing shot on that enemy Rhino there. Unfortunately, we do whiff that shot. And we do start to whiff a few shots here, which is not ideal. But the enemy team are looking like they're going to kill our tanks potentially in the sort of 8-9 area. They've killed the enemy TD over there. There's only one enemy medium. So again, I am just going to be a patient game, because look at the rest of my teammates are all based in the J90. So I can't go and push out by myself. I just have to be patient, and damage will start to come towards me, and then it can give me easier opportunities, because I'm in a good position that if the enemy team do push us, I'm just not getting detected, which is giving me that opportunity to fire undetected, which is a big plus here. We tried to go for the blind shot on the one-shot enemy medium tank. Unfortunately, doesn't connect, but it looks like our friendly Mantis is about to be pushed on the other side. He needs to really get out of there if he can, just run back at this point, because he doesn't really have any cover. And we're in the 7 versus 6, 20% hit points. I kind of feel like some of these tanks are going to push around the 6th line and give us some shots in a minute. Again, with the shot, do not lead that well, because it does have APCR this round, which is only 1,100 shell velocity in the APCR, which these days is quite slow really for the APCR rounds. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite reloaded to shoot that Waffle, but I may have a second opportunity to shoot the Waffle E100. We do, picking up a nice big shot, putting us into 4,000 damage, and putting that Waffle onto a one shot to us now, which is huge. Unfortunately, our Mantis has now been destroyed, so it is literally just me here and then all my tanks which are sitting on the 0 line. So they're not really going to move forward, so I'm just going to have to wait. Do land a big shot into that enemy Waffle there, putting us on to about 5,000 damage. And we'll do block a shot of damage as well. Because like I say, when you're trying to use the limited gun depression you have, you can bounce shots. Unfortunately, this medium tank to my left is a bit of a problem, because it means I have to turn my tank for him. I really hope our friendly artillery shuts him down, or one of our tanks do, because that's going to make my life a lot easier, because I don't have to worry about that angle, which is my biggest concern at the moment, because it's stopping me shooting the other side. But we do have an artillery left, which is a big plus, because the enemy team doesn't. So if I can keep these tanks spotted and prevent them getting closer, that's going to give our artillery more windows of opportunity to get damage in. I bounced the enemy medium tank there, get a bit unfortunate with that, to be honest with you, but I wasn't fully aimed in. And we just need to be patient. There's 4 tanks remaining. I don't want to rush this at this point, because I don't want to throw away the victory. There's really no need for me to do so. Waffle gets to sort of flank on me, but again, like I say, we've got artillery and we're keeping these targets spotted here. They can't really over peek me without me being able to shoot them, or potentially get shot from our heavy tank in the sort of H9 area. Our TVP actually shuts down that one-shot medium, which is good, and our artillery shuts down the Rhino. And we're now in a 5 versus 2, so now I can push, and I'm trying to see who's got the most hit points here. It's going to be the Waffle, and I'm assuming the one-shot medium was going to die to our full health tank destroyer pushing into the 7 line. So I thought I better be placed to chase down that Waffle. I can eat a shot off the Waffle if I need to, and I want to try and get as much damage out of this game. I'm on about 5,000. If I get another shot in, it's going to put me closer to the 6,000 mark with about 1,000 assistance. Unfortunately, it looks like our TD is kind of potentially thrown that to that enemy medium, but it should at least give me enough time to chase down the Waffle, because I know he's in this sort of location. Now I've got detected, and there we do. We spot him here. We're going to have to kill here as long as I don't low roll. And we pick up that shot, picking up our 3rd kill, and that medium does eventually get taken out by our friendly TVP. And that brings us an end to replay number 1, but we've still got 2 more replays to come. So we get 2 kills, 6,000 damage, picking up the ace tank and the high caliber. But let's move on to replay number 2. So here we are for replay number 2, this time on Sand River Encounter Battle, where we are platooned up with Swindle 321 in this AMX 30. There is no enemy artillery in the game, which is nice, and we are actually top tier. This is a tier 9 matchmaking with 2 enemy light tanks in the game. Now initially, as it's the encounter battle, I'm basically going to set myself up so as any tanks do cross the sort of 5-6 line and try and get to our A7-8 position, I want to be in a position to basically punish them as they cross. You know, if Swindle hits his shot, you know, it's going to be sort of, you know, 440 alpha into them, and then I'm going to slap a big 750 round into them. We can basically take a tank out before they get across. So I'm hoping this Chrysler is not going to stop me getting a shot in. Might make it a little bit awkward for me. I don't want to miss the shot on the cross because I'm basically trying to stay unlit, undetected, so that they do cross and then I can get that shot in. You know, they should really be expecting this. Now, unfortunately, M13, he's tried to make the cross. We put a big shot in. Swindle connects as well, and he gets put onto a one shot here. He might just make it up. No, Swindle is able to finish him off before he connects. And we managed to take out a top tier, you know, heavy tank out of the game. So we've gotten off to a good start, but will there be more contenders? Is there going to be more tanks to try and make this cross? We hope so. We'll be ready for them. Now, that was kind of filthy. We just shot the T-29 through the cupola there and finished them off, picking up our first kill of the game. He didn't really do that much wrong. He was hold down. It's just that I had enough pen, you know, and I got fortunate that I hit his cupola to take him out there. May get an opportunity to shoot this enemy heavy tank through the turret. That was already pretty unlikely as penning that. And we do get detected for it, so trying to pull back here to stay safe. Now, unfortunately, although we got off to a good start of the game, taking out a couple of tanks, our team are starting to fade away a little bit, and the enemy team do have a 3 tank advantage at this stage of the game. One of our, I think both of our light tanks have been taken out, so we don't really have any of those sort of vision tanks. So at this point, I'm just, you know, I'm still going to stay patient, just try and get some shots. There's an enemy Dreadnought here, and we managed to slap a big shot in through him. That was good for us. We put us on to about 2,000 damage. More importantly, putting the Dreadnought onto a one shot, although it is a tier 7 tank, it does have big alpha. More heavies are just crossing. So far we sat in this one spot, haven't we? And we've just shot tanks crossing. But why wouldn't I if they're going to cross? Now that puts us on to about 3,000 damage. Going to try and squeeze one into that enemy TD. And unfortunately, I didn't realise there was an unspotted SU, which was just behind that TD. Now, had I known before I fired that shot and I aimed a bit higher, I would have actually penned that tank. Enemy Proto is trying to put a shot into us. We're going to try and squeeze one in here, potentially through his cupola. We do. And we're doing pretty well on our pen ratio here, putting us on to about 3,600 damage. But again, we are losing the game. You can see 8 versus 13 now. I'm trying to get as much damage in these tanks as I can, because I want to try and win this side, so that essentially, if we lose the other side of the map, I can get onto the ridge ready to defend them. We do shut down the enemy T-Proc there, picking up our second kill of the game. And we still got that one-shot Dreadnought there. But I'm going to try and get a shot into his SU. And unfortunately, I whiffed that shot. He just gets below my gun line there, and I wasn't able to connect that. And I've got to be careful as there's an enemy light tank potentially going to be able to get shots in behind me here. Dreadnought, I think there's a Dreadnought hit Swindle here. I'm not sure. I think at one point Swindle does get hit by that Dreadnought. I'm going to try and finish him off. I think Swindle's actually going in to try and take the higher ground here to kill this tank, because if you look, we're losing the other side, so we do need to kill this tank quickly. But then that shot, that was pretty BS, to be honest. Hitting that Dreadnought, yeah, that was pretty dirty. But it was also kind of important, because now it's going to give me the opportunity to turn and fight these tanks which are coming behind us, because we are outnumbered. I need to be getting these damaging shots in whilst I can there. Wasn't able to put an enemy shot into that enemy heavy tank. Unfortunately, the tank on the ridge here, the sort of G5 position, I think it's a waffle. That tank's a bit of a pest, because he's going to keep me spotted each time I poke, and he can also try and get a shot into the side of me when I do get detected. So Swindle's, I think, trying to move to see if he can deal with that tank at the moment, or at least try and spot him so I can shoot him. But I'm just trying to keep my hit points here and be patient. Like I say, it's now 4 versus 8. Enemy team do have double our numbers, but I'm still full health at the moment. We do squeeze a big shot into that enemy tank crossing. We eat 1 for it in return, but it was a decent trade, putting us onto 5,000 damage. What I really don't want to happen is tanks to get underneath my ridge. If they get underneath my ridge, it's going to make life very awkward for me, because I'd have to I won't be able to shoot them without full overextending on the ridge. Like I said, the waffle is the pain for me at the moment, because you can see the shots coming into me when I'm poking, and that's the tank which is detecting me as well. So I really need that tank to be taken out. If that tank gets shut down, it will make my life easier. We have brought it back somewhat. It's now 4 versus 6, and enemy team do only have a 2 tank advantage. Again, the hit points is pretty bang on even though, with 17 versus 18%, mostly because I still have quite a lot of my hit points here, so I'm holding quite a lot for the team. There is an enemy one-shot T30. Can we squeeze that shot in? We can. The gun is working for us today. We pick up our 4th kill, putting us to 5,200 damage. Now in a 3 versus 5 with about 600 assistance. I think there's still the enemy light tank, the tier 9 light tank, which is awkward for us. And now what we didn't want to happen, this enemy medium is coming right underneath our ridge. But he may actually get shut down by that friendly heavy tank here, because he kind of sort of overexposed himself. I thought he would stay underneath the ridge so he couldn't get shot. Swindle has now pushed the B1 area and he's clearing that line out. So hopefully he can try and either spot that waffle, or that waffle might get moved, and then we can clear out what's actually detecting us. Unfortunately for me, I have a light tank which has now come behind me. So not a light tank, a Skoda, sorry. He's put 2 shots into me. He does get hit by my friendly teammate and he gets put on the 1 shot. I don't really want this tank to escape. Thankfully for me, Swindle shuts him down, which is huge. We're now in a 2 versus 3. One of the enemy tanks is in the cap circle, so I'm moving to try and get some shots into him. But I do get spotted for it. It was the enemy waffle. We try and land a big one. We do manage to land it. Now, I think the enemy light tank, it's a tier 9 French, I can't remember the name of it, but the enemy clipper light tank, which is going to be a bit of a problem for us. He's the real concern now. The waffle has died. Trying to lose my spot. Although I was spotted there, I wasn't targeted, which was interesting. So that means tanks probably weren't in render to shoot me. But I'm on about 6,000 damage with 4 kills now, and we are in a 2 versus 2. There's one, like I say, light tank, which is the biggest threat. The other tank is the enemy SU, which, although is still a threat, it's not as big a problem if we can get rid of the light tank. That's the real problem here. Now, I am conscious, because I'm a turretless tank destroyer. If that light tank gets behind me, he's going to be able to kill me before I'm able to do anything about it here. But I'm just kind of waiting to see if Swindle can spot him at this point. And yeah, if we can kill that tank, then that's essentially going to be game 1 and done at that point, because he's not going to be able to sneak up on us if we're able to do that. But I'm pulling back to see if I can get to a position so that he might not be able to get round us as quickly. If that happens, it's going to be game over. So that's my plan at this point in the game. I was also at this point kind of saying to Swindle that maybe we want to get a little bit closer towards me, because I think the enemy light tank as well, I forgot to mention, is actually on a 1 shot. I think Swindle said that from earlier in the game, so that's kind of crucial information. It does mean, if we spot him coming, we should be able to take him out. We're kind of running the risk though of these teams just hiding and not going for us. So I think once Swindle's got to this ridge, I said, you know what, I'm just going to go and sit in the cap and force this game. Make it so that they have to come and get the reset. We don't have to keep hunting them down. And they basically have a decision to make then. They either want to win the game and they're going to have to try and find a way to reset me, or if they just stay and hide, then in 4 minutes time we'll win the game regardless. I didn't feel like I wanted to throw this game away just trying to chase a light tank down and then capture me out. At this point I've got such good camo that he's going to have to come pretty close to spot me at this point. And with Swindle being in the ridge behind me, knowing that light tank is a 1 shot, if he does basically come and try and take me out, he's essentially going to be able to just shoot him before he kills me. So he's going to have to come for me to get the reset at this point. But it does turn into a little bit of a waiting game. We do need to wait. So I'm kind of looking around me, saying where's the best place to actually hide here. Now I'm thinking if I stay in this position, I've got the big rock behind me. So one, that's going to stop them spotting me a little bit from behind. Also, if I do get detected, I can potentially reverse into the rock so that he doesn't have rear shots into my tank. and that's my little safety net basically of having that rock behind me there. So I'm still in the cap circle, but if I get spotted I can reverse into that rock and then I'd have the safety. But at this point, unless the enemy team come and try and reset me, 3 minutes time we're winning this game anyway, and we'll get the win by cap if we have to. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the enemy team, you know, it's my thought process, that hopefully they want to try and win the game as well, so they will try and attempt to get that reset there. And it looks like that's the case. The light tank has actually come all the way round the top though, and thankfully Swindle was alert and he shuts down that light tank. Now that was huge because the only tank remaining now is this SU. Now the SU is going to find it really difficult to spot me in the cap. I'm assuming, you know, has this SU just been hiding all game? So I kind of said, you know what, Swindle, just go and try and hunt him down. You know, worst case, if you get taken out, I'm still going to win by the cap anyway, and hopefully you spot him, and then I'll be able to get a shot into him if I need to, because he's 4% hit points, so he's probably a 2-shot to Swindle or 1 shot to me, I would imagine. But yeah, it kind of feels, well, it doesn't look like the SU wants to try and play and get the reset. I think he's probably hiding at this point. Swindle's just going to try and chase him down, as he is a tank with all the mobility here. But Swindle is also on a 1-shot to this SU, so he does have to be a little bit careful. But like I say, I think I'm going to outspot this tank before he actually gets to me anyway. With 1 minute 40 left on the clock. Now, Swindle's actually got 6 kills, so he's on for the Devastator. I've got 4, which means we only 2. We're kind of 2 kills away from the 2-man crucial. So it's a shame we couldn't manage to pick up another kill early on in the game. But nonetheless, you know, Swindle will have a really nice game if he ends up finding this tank. At this point, I'm thinking, right, he's got to be hiding in the gate, like the K12 area. With only 2 minutes 50 left on the clock, so I'm just going to go and check that out, and hopefully pick up the kill there. I've got my food activated just in case I was going to spot him. I'm not getting out of the cap circle at this point, no, because yeah, if he doesn't find him, as you say, we'll have to win by cap. It's not how I want to win the game, but yeah, at least it puts the onus on the enemy team. It does look like the enemy TD was in that position. He was just basically hiding and just waiting for the end. He was playing, as you can see, but he was essentially just hiding. He didn't want to attempt to get the reset at all. But thankfully, Swindle was able to shut him down. Picks up the 7th kill, so he has a really good game himself. I have a decent game as well. Decent combined game between us. 6,000 damage, 4 kills. You know, Swindle gets 5,000 damage and 7 kills, confirming the Brothers of Arms. And 1 more replay to come. Okay, so here we are for the final replay then on Arctic Region Standard Battle. It is tier 10 matchmaking. There's no enemy fun police, no artillery in this game, and we are platooned up with our pal Davfell there in his E75, and it doesn't look like there's any enemy light tanks. So initially we're going to try and get ourselves into sort of like the B56 area. You know, and we can essentially cover our tanks if you know, Davfell decides to push down into sort of the B3 area. We can potentially get shots in to cover him, and we can also get shots on tanks which might be in their sort of F5 area. So it's a good early position to play, and at least that's the initial plan. Hopefully we don't get detected here on the cross. Seems unlikely as they don't have an enemy light tank. We should be able to get across unspotted, as well as the concealment being pretty decent for this tank. But there is 1 enemy tank already been spotted in that area, and unfortunately for us, he's actually made a good play. He did get punished a little bit, but he's pushed into sort of the A2 area. Now that's actually a problem for us, allowing that tank to get to that position. He went there blind at the start. It was the only really way he was going to get there, because now it's going to be hard for us to actually punish him. I'm waiting to see if I can get that 1 shot, that 1 opportunity to get half his hit points gone, and unfortunately I missed it. And what this is essentially done by him being there, we don't have any artillery in the game which would be able to shoot that tank. It's kind of stopped Davfell pushing down, because if he pushed down by himself, then he's essentially going to get taken out. There's not going to be a lot he can do because of the crossfire angle. I can't really push because I'm in a turretless TD. It's going to be very awkward for me to do so. So I'm just going to have to be patient now. And this game is going to have a real element of patience. We've seen if we can get a shot into this enemy heavy tank. We don't really have one. But there is quite a few tanks kind of pushing down the K8 area, as you can see, and they may well win that area. So I am starting to think might come a time where I'm going to have to turn around and go back to the base. I don't want to go too late because I don't want them to actually start pushing into our base before I'm in the position to cover them. This enemy heavy tank's now moving up aggressive, and I think it's at this point I've decided, right, I can't really play here anymore. It's not going to work for me. So I'm sort of talking to sort of Davfeld at the moment, and I'm sort of saying, look, I'm going to go back to defend that base because they're pushing round towards our base. I'm just trying to get a cheeky shot in before I leave. I need to be in a position to cover them, and yeah, Davfeld was saying that's fine. I'll hold this angle so we don't lose this side as well. So that's the plan at this stage. I'm going to push around now because the tanks are pushing across. There's only sort of one tank in the sort of F9 line. I want to basically stop them from poking that ridge, being able to punish them. We do have tanks in the sort of sniper nest at sort of B7, so it's not going to be easy for them to push. Now, if I'm able to get across to sort of the A8, 9 area, it's going to make their life very difficult to push because I'm going to have decent concealment. There's no artillery to spot me. There's no enemy light tanks, so I'll be able to probably stay unspotted and actually shoot them from a distance, making it very hard for them to push. But I also want to put myself into a position so that I can potentially cover Davfeld as well in the sort of B5 area. If those tanks end up pushing towards him, I want to be in a position so I can defend both sides. So that's my plan. That's why I'm basically staying here, because if these tanks push up, at the moment they're hull down to me, so it's going to be awkward for me to pen the turret. I don't quite, have decent penetration on this tank, but I think I've got 329 in APCR rounds. But with APCR, you lose penetration over distance. It's going to be very difficult for me to pen their turret. But if they do push a little bit too high and expose their lower plate, then I will be able to get the shots in. But I can also easily turn and cover Davfeld if Davfeld gets pushed. So this is what I mean, it's going to be a patient game, because I don't really... I spend most of the game doing nothing, and it's very agitated when you're playing. You're like, I'm not getting any damage, but I know the damage is going to come, because I know eventually these tanks are going to push up, and then I'm going to punish them. And the same goes to sort of B3, 4 area. If they push up too high, I will be able to shoot those as well. Unfortunately, our friendly heavy tanks get a little bit farmed on the top there. But this is what I mean. I might be able to squeeze in a shot here. I don't quite have the shot, but if he backs up a little bit, I can finish him off and help my tanks in the top. So I'm staying. I went for the blind shot just in case, but so far all what I've managed to do is get 1,200 assistance for the spot early on in the game. So at least I've got something. But now these tanks are starting to push and exposing their lower plate a little bit too much to me, and I actually managed to pen his turret there, and I do pick up a shot because his turret was turned to allow me to actually pen him. And this game's still very close, and I'm feeling right. It just doesn't feel that it feels like the right decision at the moment to stay where I am as a TD. There was one option where I could have pushed aggressively to sort of F sort of 0 and tried to force it on those heavy tanks, but then I couldn't cover this side as well. So I wanted to be able to cover both sides. I wanted to be able to help my platoon mate out, but also be in a position to cover the base. So with the enemy tanks pushing this aggressively, it's kind of forced me back to the base. Rather than me being like camping in the base, that's not the case. I've pulled back, I went forward, and then I said it was an educated decision to pull back and make the right decision here. So I'm hoping that eventually these heavy tanks get bored and they push. And if they push our friendly medium tank on the left, they're going to get farmed for it. So I'm going to be in a position to put probably 2 shots before they end up pushing my medium tank in the D0 area. And that will take most of their hit points away by doing so. So you see, I'm not in any bushes. I've just got fantastic concealment and they're too far away to spot me at this point. If I do get detected, I can pull back into the dip, and with this tank being quite low profile, I might be able to stay safe that way. But at the moment, 9 versus 10 or 8 versus 10 now. Still haven't really done anything. Our team on the top there are starting to go down tanks, which might force them to push if we're lucky. But yeah, maybe I'll get an opportunity to shoot this heavy tank again. He's just hull down to us. He's been hesitant to push, but then a Death Star pushes up, and yeah, that wasn't a good play by Mr. Death Star. We were able to put a big shot into him, and he gets shut down by our friendly G-Saw. And at least we're starting to get onto the board with our damage at this point, picking up our second pen there on the Death Star. But now this heavy tank's got bored, and this is where he's going to make the mistake. He's going in for our medium tank, and I'm here just to basically put the shots in. I've got one in already. I'm going to get at least another one shot in before he gets towards our medium tank. That's going to put him onto at least probably a one shot to us. He is now a one shot to us, picking up our fourth pen. He uses a shot of the medium. He may well kill that medium because he is now hold down to us. But at least we've given him a fighting chance there against that heavy tank. And I'm quickly turning towards Davfell as they've started to make the push into Davfell here. Maybe I can finish off this enemy 5A there. Unfortunately, I bounce. Our medium tank, our Skoda, does get shut down. But again, now my focus is on Davfell basically. They're pushing him with numbers. I need to try and help this tank out. It's a little bit spicy at the moment, but I'm still feeling confident about the angles. It's going to be hard for them to push Davfell, and I shut down that enemy 5A. That picks up our first kill of the game, and that's obviously a dangerous tank. The DPM of a 5A is absolutely crazy. So yeah, it was a big important kill, and it's in a 6 versus 6, so it is still pretty close to this game. You're on 3,000 damage at this point. One kill, still 6 tanks remaining. I'm just waiting for these heavy tanks to again see if one of them is going to make a push again. They do. This IS-3 breaks up too high, and we pick up the second kill. So I think this is one of those games where patience is a virtue, and it does actually pay off. And sometimes I'm my own worst enemy with that, because I end up getting bored and I just basically push and decide I'm just going to try and force the damage, where it's not always necessary to do. Because we kind of turned that, we just had to wait for the right situation, and now this enemy heavy tank does poke, and at this point of the game, yeah, I need to just go forward now. We've managed to secure both sides. It's just about trying to get the rest of the damage if we can. We're on about, 3 kills, got 7 pens, which has put us on to about 3,600 damage, 1,200 assistance. Might be able to squeeze in a shot onto that Barras there. We get a beautiful shot putting the Barras onto a one shot. Unfortunately, Davfell gets caught out by the Iron Rain, but he does at least tell me where the Iron Rain is located, and he's basically on the sniper ridge on the J6 area. And I'm assuming that this Iron Rain is probably pretty healthy, and that is something where I'm thinking, ooh, I might get an opportunity for the HE rounds here. If that Iron Rain stayed there, he's probably on a reload, considering he's just killed Davfell there. That gives me an opportunity to try and get a HE shot, because I've got 90 pen on my HE with 950 alpha, so I can really boost my DPM. I'm just hoping to get there. Now, unfortunately, the enemy Star Child has fallen off a cliff and is no longer with us, so there is just a 5 versus 2. It is just a case of, can we get the damage? I know that all the damage is with this Iron Rain because the Brass I put onto a one shot, so I know for a fact this Iron Rain is full health at this point because there's 5% hit points, so he's got to have almost all of his hit points remaining. He does get spotted. He is full health, and I'm just hoping, can I get there and get this big juicy shot into the Iron Rain with the HE? And we do. We roll for 939, absolutely destroying his crew, because obviously it's an open top vehicle and we've just penned it with a HE shell. So we should have to finish here if we're lucky, but we got what he wanted, and that was that damage. The Brass shot and miss, so he can't kill us. Well, he couldn't kill us anyway, but he definitely can't kill us now. And yeah, we're on a 4 versus 1. The Brass is on the one shot. All what's left is a tiny bit of damage and the kill. And I'm just going to push. I'm not really intending to chase this Brass around the map at this point. He's just going to, if he wants to run away, it's going to be hard for me to chase him down. So my best bet is probably just to get in a cap circle, considering he's most likely pushed to sort of J, sort of F1-2 area, because he can get into a couple of bushes there and try and get his last 2 shots off before he gets taken out, which is a smart play to do because he's in a 4 versus 1. If he can catch out a couple of the lower health tanks, he might be able to get himself a kill. But unfortunately for him, I'm full health and I can eat both of his shots. So if he detects me, I'm just going to keep going. Now I know exactly where he is. He's targeted me. I know he's in those bushes in front of me. He has to be. He only hasn't shot us yet because we're probably a little bit too low for him. Or maybe he hasn't quite finished his reload. So I'm just going to keep pushing until we spot him. I know you're in that bush, Mr. Barras. Come out, come out. And he does, and unfortunately I missed a shot. Yeah, and he tracks us basically, so yeah, it makes it awkward for me. I'm probably not going to get the kill in this Barras now. No, it gets shut down by our friendly Conqueror. And that does bring us then to the video, so thank you so much for your amazing support. How did we get on? How did we finish off? 4 kills, 5,600 damage, 1,200 assistance, getting the ace tanker and the high caliber. And that was a decent game as well. So yeah, thanks for your amazing support. And as always, happy tanking.
Enemy in sight. Hadouken!